Hey everybody, I'm Brittany Falkers in for Pat Doris tonight, and welcome to The Story. All the ways to communicate with us are at the bottom of your screen right there. You can email us. The address is thestory@kgw.com. You can also leave us a voicemail. And tonight we're looking at Measure 114, Oregon's gun control law that voters passed almost a year ago. That's gone just about nowhere. Measure 114 has been tied up with legal challenges since it passed with just 50.6% of the vote. Earlier this year, a federal judge ruled that the Measure 114 is constitutional. That decision, though, is being appealed. And today, closing statements wrapped up in a state lawsuit in Harney County. That's where a judge will decide if Measure 114 meets the standards of the Oregon Constitution, and where lawyers have been battling it out over claims of self-defense and public safety. Evan Watson joins me now. And Evan, first update us on where things are today and what we're really talking about here with Measure 114.
Yeah, so first thing to know, that judge says he has about 2 months to make a decision in this case, but he hopes to share his ruling sooner than that. And honestly, this case seems primed for an appeal as well, regardless of what the judge decides. Measure 114 has 3 main components, to remind you. It would require a permit to buy a gun, expand background checks in Oregon, and ban large capacity magazines holding more than 10 rounds. Gun owners and their lawyers squared off against Oregon Department of Justice lawyers today, debating case law, self-defense, public safety standards, and whether there's a legal place for large capacity magazines in our communities.
Public safety is what defendants want this court to consider. However, this case is not solely about public safety and instead requires that this court find both that there's a public safety benefit and that the benefit is accomplished without infringing or even unduly burdening the right to bear arms.
The fact that detachable magazines and automatic fire technology were eventually used for civilian purposes cannot, according to the Court of Appeals, quote, bootstrap these weapons into personal defense weapons so that they come within the constitutional protection.
So it's interesting what we hear there. These are similar arguments to arguments we've heard around the country in these cases, right?
Right, and precedent plays a big role here as well. That argument of the question, what did the founders intend compared to how firearm technology has evolved? Both sets of lawyers cited judicial cases dating back 150 years, and that led to one of the more entertaining moments of the day, a lawyer representing the gun owners talking about the Oregon coast being a little vulnerable.
The possibility that Oregon may need her armed citizenry is ever present in an ever-changing and tumultuous world. Oregon, being a coastal state, is an obvious location for a potential invasion. 165 years ago, and building on the Second Amendment enacted decades before, the first citizens of the state of Oregon chose that a well-armed citizenry would be needed to protect this state. But this idea is not so outdated as defendants would suggest. The court heard evidence that still today, Oregonians are assisting law enforcement by protecting not only themselves, such that they don't need law enforcement, but also assisting law enforcement.
Yeah, really interesting argument that he gave there. Now, Evan, we know that 10 states do have some similar permit to purchase laws, and 11 states have similar bans on large magazines. So how did the state argue, hey, we should be able to do this?
By focusing on how they believe these changes would help public safety, which is often the argument in these cases. In the federal case, the judge actually agreed with the Department of Justice lawyers, saying large capacity magazines are not commonly used for self-defense and permit to purchase is constitutional. Here's the perspective on that from both sides.
Case law does not allow for an absolute prescription on any arm, regardless of the public safety benefit. There is no level of public safety benefit that can avoid this prong.
We disagree. The permit to purchase provisions do not prohibit acquisition of firearms. They require individuals to establish that they are not a danger to themselves or others and pass a training component.
All right, so we do not have a final decision yet. The judge says this could be coming in the coming weeks, right?
In the coming weeks. He has up to 2 months, he said, until the lawyers will really start pestering him. But he hopes that will come sooner. And it's largely expected that even that decision is going to be appealed. I was saying earlier that we can hardly call Measure 114 a new law anymore. It was passed back in last November, but of course it hasn't taken effect, and we're not even close to that final say just yet, even if the challenges are moving forward step by step.
Yeah, still some more decisions, some final decisions to come in all this. All right, Evan, thanks so much.
You got it.
Well, finding housing that's affordable is a struggle for people across the metro area. Now there's an option for families who want to live in Washington County to be able to get a family-sized home for much less than the market rate. But it's one that's only available every few years, and the window to apply is closing fast. Ashley Grahams has the details.
Washington County has reopened the wait list for public housing. The last time it was open was over 3 years ago, back in 2020. They hope to get close to 300 families into housing. Affordable housing in Washington County.
It's essential.
Now available for the first time in 3 years on a big scale.
We have 244 units in total, and they're spread throughout the county, as far as Forest Grove, Beaverton, Sherwood.
The county is encouraging families to apply because the homes available are 2, 3, and 4-bedroom units.
They range from single-family homes all the way to multifamily apartment complexes.
These units don't have a set cost. Instead, families contribute 30% of their income.
The subsidy picks up the rest.
The county says most tenants pay about $421 a month. That's less than 1/3 of the cost of a 2-bedroom apartment in Beaverton, according to apartments.com.
There is an affordable housing crisis that's regional, that many families feel.
The Housing Authority says the county is working to add even more affordable housing units, even after these are filled.
So we're really trying to meet the need within the community of expanding affordable housing.
And there are only a few days left to apply. The application closes on the 26th. And once it closes, the Housing Authority says it might not reopen for another 2 years. You can find more information at our website, kgw.com.
The portal to apply is at portal.wchousingauthority.org. The Washington County Housing Authority is only accepting applications online. So they say if you don't have internet access, you should go to a library to apply there. You'll need names, relationships, dates of birth, and social security numbers of everyone in your household, your monthly household income, and a valid email address. They'll randomly choose 300 households for each bedroom size using a lottery. In order to be eligible, your household cannot earn more than 80% of the area median income. So for a family of 4 in Washington County, that's just over $90,000. But the Housing Authority is prioritizing families that they call extremely low income. That's 30% of the median income, or about $33,000 for a family of 4 in Washington County. Again, the deadline to apply is tomorrow at 5 p.m. And right now, you might stand a pretty good chance of getting in. We checked, and Washington County Housing Services says they've had about 1,200 applications submitted as of this morning. There are 900 slots available. Every now and then, we like to highlight quality local journalism from around our area. And here's one from the Columbian that we think is worth your time. The headline, homeless population graze in Clark County as more seniors end up on the streets. You can read it now on Columbian.com. Now, this came to our attention from one of our viewers here on the story. Liz in Vancouver sent this to us this morning, so thanks so much to Liz for that. And if you see any stories that we should be paying attention to here from big news outlets or small community papers, send them on over. We love to check them out. This story in particular highlights the struggle for seniors trying to find housing in Clark County while dealing with fixed incomes, rising rents, and medical costs. It follows Chris, a 70-year-old man who became homeless this summer and had a heart attack, spending his first night homeless in a hospital bed. There's also JP, a 71-year-old man who lives in a tent behind City Hall, and Julie, who became homeless at the age of 70 when her rent increased and she couldn't afford a home anywhere in town. She even had to put off an important hip surgery because she was living in her car and didn't have anywhere to recover from that operation. The Columbian's reporting found that between 2019 and 2022, the number of people older than 55 accessing some type of homeless service in Clark County increased by 34%. Last year, that was more than 1,100 people, 149 of whom were more than 70 years old. They also report that a typical one-bedroom apartment in Clark County rents for more than $1,600 per month, while the national average Social Security payment is just over $1,700. So that would leave a typical senior renter with just under $150 for all of their other expenses. That's not much. So nationally, adults older than 65 are the fastest growing age group that are becoming homeless, and that's according to the American Society on Aging. The seniors in the article talk about their struggle to find resources like housing assistance and Medicare vouchers, and health problems that get worse when you don't have a comfortable place to stay or make healthy food, and they deal with those mental health problems too, even thoughts of suicide. It's a heartbreaking story, but a really, really important one for our aging community. And there are small beacons of hope here. People in the community working to help out the homeless seniors that we mentioned. You can check out this article, and we really recommend you do. You can find it right now in the Columbian. When it comes to wildfires and fighting them, timing is everything. The sooner firefighters can get on the scene, the better chance they have of containing a fire before it spreads too far. When we come back, we're taking a look at how artificial intelligence is helping firefighters save those critical hours and protect people who may be in the area a fire's burning. Well, how are you liking the return of this rain today? It's the first good, long soaking rain that we've had in a few months, and it's definitely good news for the wildfires that are still burning across the state. But you know, you can't always wait for the rain, and fire officials are looking to new tools to help them battle wildfires. One of them, cameras mounted high up in the sky, equipped with artificial intelligence. Here's Erica Zucco from our sister station in Seattle to explain.
When fire danger is high, they have to be smart with how they use their resources, and they're hopeful that these cameras could give them information to help make those decisions. A view from above gives a sense of the unique and far-reaching land the Washington Department of Natural Resources oversees. They're studying how well more eyes overhead in camera form could help them tackle the task.
We've been seeing quite a bit, actually. We get alerts probably 5-6 a day from different cameras that we've already got up and running. I have an alert and I check on it.
Angie Lane works in DNR's wildfire division. She receives each snapshot from above. An artificial intelligence tool has been trained with images of clear skies and of smoky ones, and sends alerts when it spots a problem.
We would check out the map that they send with the detection.
Lane can use remote-controlled features to move a camera and examine the area so crews can approach it more safely.
You can tell by color of smoke and how the smoke is moving it, figure out the direction of the fire, things like that. So all of that early information, early detection is only going to keep communities safer and firefighters safer.
Creators with Pano AI say the cameras have been deployed by landowners in Oregon, Colorado, and California, but Washington's Department of Natural Resources is the first government agency to launch them across the state.
When we started researching this industry, we were shocked to learn that we had better technology in our smart home appliances, in our Alexa, in our home security cameras, in our doorbells, than firefighters had at their disposal.
In Washington, most cameras will be installed on T-Mobile towers using 5G to send images and receive commands.
We talk a lot about getting the information and data to our firefighters.
In a formal launch this September, the state announced 9 cameras have been deployed, with 12 more to be installed by this summer in areas ranging from Ellensburg to Devil's Mountain. The price tag runs around $45,000 per camera per year, in this case funded through House Bill 1168.
This is a new project, so we'll find out the benefits.
In some cases, the cameras have captured fires growing soon after they spark, giving DNR and other agencies a head start. At this point, this is still a pilot program. They're learning how they might use this information and if they could expand it across more of the state. Reporting from Ellensburg, Erica Zucco.
And now to some breaking news in Salem. City leaders plan to drop their challenge against a firefighter's widow. You see, her husband, who served as a firefighter for nearly 3 decades, died of cancer in what's considered to be a line of duty death. The city was appealing the benefits to Oregon Supreme Court, saying they shouldn't have to pay them. But in a meeting tonight, the city manager announced that they would withdraw that appeal. Before that decision, our China Green spoke with that widow to learn more about her fight.
A major turnout today for this rally ahead of the city council meeting right now. If you want to take a look, just lining the streets, even Oregon Congresswoman Andrea Salinas joined the firefighters from across the state in their fight to have the families of fallen firefighters be taken care of if they die in the line of duty, which is currently a gray area.
Signs and support for Tina Stadley, widow of firefighter Mo Stadley, and future families of fallen first responders.
That if I ever needed anything, and it didn't matter how small, to call them, just pick up the phone and call them. And he said they would be right there for me.
They want the city to continue to pay Tina firefighters' widow workers' compensation benefits, but the city wants the payments to stop.
He worked for 28 years serving the people in this city, and then now the city is trying to deny him.
Stadley served the people of Salem as a firefighter for 28 years. He died in 2019 from tonsillar cancer. His widow, Tina, was left with a folded flag, memories, and workers' compensation benefits granted by an Oregon appeals court in 2021. But 2 years later, she found out the city of Salem was trying to take away the workers' compensation benefits that she was awarded after her husband's death.
It just crushed me. It devastated me.
Firefighter Stadley's death was considered a line of duty death under Oregon's cancer presumption laws. It ensures that if firefighters contract a list of occupation-related cancers, that is reasonably presumed it was due to their work as a firefighter. The city said, after talking with medical experts, they believe Stadley's work as a firefighter did not materially contribute to contracting the disease. They believe it was unrelated or pre-existing. The city's denial was reversed by the Oregon Workers' Compensation Board and then by the Oregon Court of Appeals last month. So the city of Salem has requested that the Oregon Supreme Court review the decision by the Oregon Court of Appeals in City of Salem versus Stadley.
To me, the most important thing right now is the future firefighters.
Firefighters say this fight is bigger than Mo and Tina. There's a concern that if these benefits are taken away, a precedent will be set for future cases.
Now, this topic is not on the agenda for tonight for the city council meeting, so firefighters will speak during public comment. In Salem, China Green, KGW News.
And once again, late tonight, Salem leaders said that they would withdraw their appeal. The decision was met with a round of applause from those in council chambers. Still ahead here on the story, we're heading back into the Oregon Historical Society's secret warehouse of artifacts. Why was there an Egyptian-inspired chandelier in the Lloyd Center? And what was a photographer doing in his underwater diving suit? The stories behind some of Oregon's historical artifacts coming up. Oh yeah, tonight we're digging for old. It's our weekly segment here on The Story where we take a look at some artifacts from Oregon's history in partnership with the Oregon Historical Society. For the past few weeks, we've been taking a tour inside the Oregon Historical Society's secret vault. It's a hidden warehouse where OHS stores thousands of items from Oregon's past, keeping them safe and preserved. If you missed our first two installments of the tour, you can check them out on our KGW YouTube channel. Just search for Digging for Old. Tonight, though, we've got part 3 of our tour. Just take a look.
Now, you might think you've entered King Tut's tomb here when you see this item here. And this design here, this whole work, presided over the Aladdin dining room at the Lloyd Center Meyer & Frank, what used to be the Lloyd Center Meyer & Frank. For some reason, they had an Egyptian-themed dining room, the Aladdin. And so this was straight from that. Of course, Meyer & Frank, the iconic department store in Oregon history. So one of the early kind of pioneers in underwater photography was an Oregonian, F. Harold Macon, and we have a collection of his diving suit, equipment he used for underwater photography. He used it during the Vanport flood of 1948, and other discoveries and emergencies. But you can see what an underwater diving suit would look like there. So. We have, as you can see here, a lot of chairs. Two of my favorites are this pair of chairs right here. They were a wedding gift to Captain Robert Gray. Captain Gray gets credit for discovering the Columbia River in the 1790s. He was the first sailor explorer to enter the bar and to sail up the river, and gets credit, named the river after his ship. Was the Columbia Rita Vita. As I say, he gets credit for discovering the river, even though as he sailed up the river, the Native Americans, the indigenous people who were there were, waving at him, and apparently, unfortunately, they didn't get credit for discovering the river.
Trunks are one of those things that people use. They were ubiquitous, 100 years ago, but nowadays we only use like rolling suitcases, so people don't know what to do with them. I always tell people our top 3 offers are trunks and playing organs, like pipe organs, and furniture, which you can obviously including chairs. This is one of my favorite trunks in the collection. It's less ornate than a lot of the other trunks that we might have, but I think that it tells such a unique Oregon story. So this was donated by the son of Hisako Saito, who was a Japanese immigrant, and she was incarcerated during World War II, and after incarceration they actually moved to Vanport. So it's this really interesting story combining 3 things, immigration, incarceration, and then of course the historic World War II era city of Vanport. And recently I found out that the original owner, Hisako Saito, was actually a senryu poet. So it's kind of like haiku. And she completed poetry with a group of others during incarceration, and her poetry is actually on the Japanese American Historical Plaza on Nato Parkway.
And we'll bring you more from our secret warehouse tour next Monday right here on The Story. That's the end of our show. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.